Alright, everybody, welcome to a game called Wayhaven Chronicles. And I think the best way to describe this game is to read the description that is in the actual game itself. Your first case as a detective is forcing you to open your eyes to a world bigger than you thought. Maybe it's better to keep them closed. Knowing too much doesn't help anyone sleep at night. Seems Supernatural didn't get the memo that nothing exciting ever happens in the little town of Wayhaven. The Wayhaven Chronicles, Book 1, is a thrilling 440,000-word interactive fantasy novel by Mishka Jenkins, where your choices control the story. It's entirely text-based, without graphics or sound effects, and fueled by the vast, unstoppable power of your imagination. Experience the big and small moments with a host of characters throughout this exciting twist on the usual supernatural tale, a story which will take you through heart-pounding romance, smile-filled relationships, and shiver-inducing drama. Okay, let's go. Let's scroll down. I probably should mention this is like a demo version of the game itself. Play as female, male, or non-binary, with the options to be straight, gay, or bisexual. Discover the start of distinct and lasting romances with the vampires of Unit Bravo. Define and refine relationships with a variety of characters from friends, family, exes, and enemies. Decide how you will fulfill the job of detective through deduction, combat, science, or people skills. Discover the truth of what awaits in Wayhaven in a playstyle that suits your personality. Indulge in true moments of romance, friendship, drama, and fun. You can play the first 7 chapters of the game for free. Purchase the rest of the game below. Alright, so we are just going to play the demo for now. Okay, I'm guessing this is the start. Moonlight slices through the beakers on the top of the laboratory counter, 100 shafts of light bouncing off the pristine, polished surface. Precise lines of glass tubes held in stark white cartons are piled on the center island. Dr. Ethan Murphy enjoys the small space of his lab, one he has worked hard on making his own. He is grateful for the comforting quiet it brings, and is, at the moment, even more thankful for the size of the large counters. They fully hide his crouched, shuddering body as he hunches behind them, biting his lip to stop his shuddering breath giving away his position. Dr. Murphy, nobody likes a coward. The taunt is followed by the smash of glass, shards of the broken beakers glancing across the linoleum floor. Dr. Murphy squeezes his eyes shut, and he rips his knees closer to his chest, his teeth biting down into his bottom lip, hard enough to draw blood. The squeak of the intruder's shoes on linoleum stops. The air falls silent and heavy, pressing down like a weight on Murphy's tight shoulders. If you don't want me to find you, Dr. Murphy, you shouldn't make yourself so tempting. The voice echoes from nowhere, a hungry growl from the darkness. Murphy's eyes snap open as a warm drop of blood dribbles from his lip and soaks into his trousers. He wipes the blood from his lips and chokes back a sob. But it's too late. A hand lurches from the dark and snatches at Murphy, like claws around prey. Such an irresistible thing, don't you think? The man whispers, his face shadowed by the glint in his eyes unmistakable. When his tongue laps over the smear of blood on Murphy's hand, the doctor retches and tries to crawl back, yelling as the hand grips his tighter. The crack of bone perforates the silence. Dear, dear, he tugs on Murphy's mangled hand, dragging him over the slick surface of the linoleum. I don't want to break you, Doctor. Murphy is yanked up onto his feet. The intruder is the same height as he is, but appears 10 feet tall in the gloom. Shh. He places a firm finger on the doctor's lips to stop the trembling cries. Then he takes Murphy's hand in both of his, staring into his eyes with the intense, paralyzing gaze only a predator can achieve. Why don't you relax? The words reverberate like a haunting echo inside Murphy's head, bouncing from one side of his skull to the other until he sways with dizziness. A swath of calm seeps from his head down into his neck, following his spine and reaching right down to his toes, until he stumbles back from the suddenness of his muscles relaxing. Murphy smiles at the intruder and takes a deep breath. Much better, the intruder whispers, before plunging his teeth into Murphy's throat. Meanwhile, the next morning in Wayhaven, the crime scene is a wriggling mass of spectators by the time I arrive. Even this early in the morning, people lie in the small alleyway, packed so tightly I can't believe they're able to breathe, let alone fight for space to see the end of the street. Revving the engine of my battered silver hatchback does little to gain anyone's attention, and I realize I can't park unless they move. Not wanting to be late to my very first case as Wayhaven's newly appointed detective, I either beat my horn, park where I am, lean out the window and order them to move, lean out the window and ask them to move. Hmm. Uh, I guess I'll lean out the window and ask them to move. I roll down the window of my car and balance an elbow against the door so I can lean out as far as possible. Hey guys, can you move yourselves, please? I'm the detective here for this crime scene. My words don't inspire the quick motion that I'd hoped, but the buzzing crowd does reluctantly part. I drive further down the alleyway. Managing to park, I crank on the hand brake, trying to ignore the pained, crunching sound the car makes. Out of habit, I glance at the rearview mirror, quickly checking my appearance. I brush a hand over my ebony black hair, light brown hair, dark brown hair, mousy brown hair, light blonde hair. There's supposed to be an E at the end. Honey blonde hair, dark blonde hair, deep red hair, bright red hair, strawberry blonde hair, or bald scalp. I'll go with ebony black hair. I brush a hand over my ebony black hair, figuring there is little else I can do to procrastinate. I finally force myself out of the car. The chill air bites at my skin as soon as I step out of the warm comfort of the car. I shove my hands into the pockets of my coat, shivering at the relief it provides from the sharp cold. Buds may be clinging to the few stark trees lining the alleyway, but it is far from spring yet. It looks as though most of Wayhaven has gathered at the scene. It is more likely true than not, considering the whole town consists of less than 1,000 people. As I step up to the blue and white striped barrier, I am greeted by Officer Len, a part-time volunteer on the scant Wayhaven police force. I wonder for a moment if his hunched posture is from the grisly nature of the crime or just his advanced age. He looks up from his pad, and I can almost hear the creaking in his bones at the motion. I wait as he speaks to greet me, his voice croaking out from his thin lips, partly hidden by a scraggly gray beard that matches the color of his skin. Finally, he says, okay, so this is where we choose to be a man or woman, or just not addressed as either. Hmm. Um, let's be a girl. I let out a long sigh. Are we really going to do this, Len? You started working as a volunteer long after I joined the force. Sorry, but it's Mayor's orders, he replies. I'm hesitant to open my coat after just managing to get warm, but I pull one side open to yank out my badge and ID. I hand it over, Len not even glancing at it before handing it back. His eyesight may be bad, but even he cannot fail to recognize me. All good, detective. Step on through. I take back my ID and dip under the barrier Len is struggling to keep raised. As I move away from him, I glance down at my new ID. Detective. It's the first time I've been addressed that way by one of my colleagues. It's strange to hear my new title. It belonged to old Detective Real for so long that I'm not sure if it fits me quite yet. After all, the only training I've had was the rushed speech I received from the mayor, addressing my many merits and how to show my willingness to take over. The total of my detective experience probably amounts to that hour he spent lecturing me. The promotion was rushed through in time for Real's retirement party, leaving me spinning on how to react to the whole thing. I didn't even want the promotion. The captain forced it on me. I was so excited for the promotion, though I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't surprised by the promotion. I've worked hard to get it. I didn't really want it, but I wasn't going to turn it down when offered. I guess I'll go with I was so excited for the promotion, though I wasn't expecting it. The promotion may have come as a surprise, but it was certainly a happy one. The quickness of the whole situation led to whispers about the promotion only being given because the captain needed someone in the station for a senior position, so he could go off and play golf with the mayor whenever he wants. But I'm still proud. I smile at the memory. My photo stares back at me from the ID pouch. I glance over my details. My name listed boldly at the top. Please enter first name. Which one? What are we gonna choose? Do we um choose one of the, I don't know. Let's see. There's Lauren, Emma, Dinah, Kira, Serena, or none of these. Or I can enter a custom one. I'll go with Kira. Please enter a surname. Langford, Kingston, Batra, Lynn, Green, none of these. Batra. I glance up at the okay, finally here then, Detective Batra. I glance up at the sound of the familiar voice, a smile already on my face. Officer Tina Poname strides towards me, my old partner grinning at me as she nears. Not much of a surprise. They're all gathered here, she says, gesturing to the crowd behind us. Oh, not much of a surprise. They're all gathered here. Okay. I look over my shoulder at the bustle of people, sunlight glinting off the phones held ready to take whatever pictures I can. This is probably the biggest thing that's happened for years, I reply with a shrug. She nods in response, brushing back a few brown curls that bob in front of her hazel eyes. I can't help but notice none of the fancy-dancy silver spoons that bother to show up. Her nose wrinkles as she speaks, the freckles splattered over her rosy cheeks becoming more pronounced with the expression. Don't suppose they care what happens to us normal folk as long as no one touches their mansions. But anyway, how's the first day of your promotion going? See, depends on how gruesome the murder is. I was hoping it would be quieter. I wish my career didn't start with a death. I'm pleased to be able to put my mind to something. Let's see. Depends on how gruesome the murder is. Depends on how gruesome the murder is, I reply, shoving my hands deeper into my pockets. She purses her lips and sighs. It's going to be a terrible day, I'm afraid. It's that bad? I'd say so. But then I've never actually seen a murder before. She dares a glance down the street at the scene, though it's half hidden by white-clad crime scene technicians. The techs all busy themselves placing down yellow tags and measuring out every inch of space. There's the occasional bright flash as they take photos. Excuse me, a voice stops us before we move. I need to know what is going on. I demand to know. Tina's grip on her belt tightens and I let out a drawn breath. I'm the landlord of these apartments, the man, an older gentleman in a crisp gray suit, sweeps an arm upwards at the soaring, crumbling building beside us. Not exactly something to be proud of, sir. You're a businessman, not a policeman, so please stay back. Demands will get you nowhere. I'm sorry, sir, but we can't give out details at this time. Uh, the landlord. Demands will get you nowhere. Demands will get you nowhere, I reply. The man's face scrunches into a knot of crimson anger. Demands won't, but I guess I'll still have to deal with him, Tina says, laying a hand on my shoulder. Plus, it's not your job to call him the riffraff anymore, detective. I throw her a grateful nod as she moves towards the landlord with a stern frown. Her tall, statuesque figure is hidden behind the stiff, unshapely dark blue uniform. Her pretty features contrast against the heavy belt and boots she wears. If I'd known her before becoming such good friends as partners, I might have made the move. I'm only attracted to women. I wouldn't have made a move. I'm only attracted to men. I might have made a move. I'm attracted to men and women. We will go with the third option. I shake away the thought, turning to head towards the crime scene. It's not far before I stumble to a stop, holding my hands to keep balance as a technician walks in front of my path. The woman clicks her tongue at me before continuing to bend down and retrieve a piece of trash. Carefully storing it in a clear plastic bag and sealing the top, I move forwards once more, my path like a dance as I make my way through a maze of yellow tags and disgruntled technicians. I avoid coming up against the wall, which is slick with something I don't even want to think about. Thankfully, I make it past the busiest part to find Dr. Turner crouched over the body. He looks up at me and frowns. Sorry, this has to be your first case, Kira. Yeah, it's pretty amazing to think I delivered you as a baby, and now here you are, as a peer. His pride in me is dulled, somewhat due to our meeting over a dead body. The gloomy light of the morning makes the gray peppering his short black hair seem lighter, and his deep brown skin a little more aged than usual. A quiet punctuates the air between us. Dr. Turner returns to looking over the still figure at his feet. Do you know who the victim is? Do you know who the victim is, Doctor? I haven't had a proper look at them yet. I had to wait until those city boys were done, he says, and I note the glare he throws towards the crime scene techs. Wayhaven is too small and quiet a place for those types of people, so when a major crime happens, they are sent down to aid from the big city. It's the first time this has happened in my lifetime, and the city techs and small town people obviously aren't mixing well. Turner places his hands beneath the body before rolling it over. I wince a little at the dull thud that sounds as it topples over completely, a reaction noted by the keen, if aging, doctor. I don't recognize the woman spread on the trash-lined street before me, her blonde hair matted and her freckled pale skin marred with bruises. Neither, it seems, does the doctor. You don't know her? I ask. Nope, he replies. I don't think she can be from Wayhaven. I see to I see to pretty much everyone's health here, and I have never seen her before. I give a nod of understanding and look back at the lifeless woman, turn away from her, clench my jaw and hold my gaze, continue looking without issue. And continue to look over the woman, looking over the woman without issue, wondering who she might be. You're braver than I was when I saw my first body, Dr. Turner says with a half smile. I just can't believe there's been a murder here in Wayhaven. My words come out in a confused mumble. Well, I didn't exactly say it that way, but I know what you mean. Last time there was violence in this town was back in my grandfather's day, he says, shaking his head. His thin-framed glasses wriggle down his nose. He pushes them back up and shrugs. Can you give me the time of death? I ask. That's not my call to make, he replies, bristling slightly with his words. That's your man's job back at the lab. He doesn't bother to hold back the disdain in his voice, obviously not pleased at having to give responsibility to another city boy. I'm only here to make sure the body is really dead. Make sure she is dead. She was a person, not just a body. Hopefully it won't take long to find out more about it. The quicker we can clear this up, the better. At least we can move her outside of the crowd. Make sure she is dead. Make sure she is dead. I correct him. He frowns in confusion. Pardon? She was a person, not just a body. Turner nods and gives a warm smile of apology. Of course, you're right. He turns to face the techs behind him, their mask-covered faces giving them an eerie look. You can take her away now. He then strides away down the street to where his black sports car is parked. Good luck with it all, Kira, he calls back with a slight wave of his hand. Find out anything useful from the doc? Tina asks as she moves back to my side. We both watch for a moment as the techs move forward to throw a white cloth over the victim. We'll know more when Verda takes a look at her, I reply. Are you okay getting statements from the witnesses? Sure, I've already started on it. I give a nod of appreciation. Take Douglas from the station if you need help. I'd have better luck getting help from a parrot than from that boy, she scoffs. She moves away, her pad flipped open in preparation. With the crowds, the technicians, and the sheer amount of rubbish still littering the alleyway, I'm not sure how much more I can get from the crime scene. I begin to head out of the street and back towards my car. Officer Batra, Detective. My shoulders instantly hunch at the voice, and I roll my head from side to side to release the sudden tension before turning to face the source of the call. Bobby Marks, I say. Why am I not surprised to find you here? Bobby, being the only journalist in the small town, leaps on any kind of gossip he can. Whether it be true or not, this is probably the closest to real news he's ever had. Bobby also happens to have a reputation as a giant pain in the butt. Still, as far as my relationship with him goes, I've only met him a few times. Fortunately, he also happens to be my ex. He's an ex-friend. What will our relationship be with Bobby? A few times. Fortunately, he's also happens to be my ex. He's an ex-friend. I think we'll go with I've only met him a few times. I've only met Bobby a few times, but I do know he uses bribes to find out extra information from some of our volunteers, as well as wriggling his way into people's personal lives to report to everyone in town. I really don't like people who are happy to spill their secrets for profit. Annoying though he may be, he doesn't bother me much. I can handle someone like Bobby, but I don't like having to. Bobby's just doing his job. I really don't like people who are happy to spill their secrets for profit. Okay. I really don't like people who are willing to spill other secrets for profit, and Bobby falls exactly into that category. Our professional relationship is not exactly friendly because of it. He grins at me as he approaches, his phone held out like a microphone. What's happened here? Can you tell me? No, I can't, I reply curtly, pushing his phone back as he thrusts it closer. Nothing at all? No, nothing at all, I repeat, dipping beneath the barrier and heading for the sanctuary of my car. It'll be a while before Solomon Verda, Wayhaven's only pathologist, has anything to report, so I decide to take a quick brunch. I drive the car around to the swanky, modern side of town. The red brick factories that make up every foundation and building in Wayhaven have all been given a coat of fresh white or classy gray paint in this area. Tidy shop fronts line the streets, each with a scripted scrolling shop name running across the top of the door. The square is the center of the modern hub, and I pull up to park beside the bakery. Getting out, I try not to break my ankle on the aesthetically pleasing but treacherous cobblestone street. Thankfully, the wet, slushy blanket of leaves that covers the roads of Wayhaven have long ago been cleared away from the square. I doubt the leaves even had a chance to touch the ground before someone was plucking them up and throwing them out. The bakery is surprisingly empty. I stumble to a stop inside the doorway as a waft of hot air, lined with the scent of fresh bread, embraces me. Good morning, Kira. Haley, the bakery owner, greets me with a grin. Her ivory cheeks flushed with red, and a ring of white blonde hair is visible beneath a red and white checkered chef's hat. Yeah. What can I get you? I stared at the curved display and the pastry goodies spread behind it, the fresh warmth of them steaming glass. Let's see. Coffee, cup of tea, water, coffee and pastry, tea and a pastry. Let's go with coffee and a pastry. I'll have a coffee, please. My gaze flickers through the pastries. Their scent enticed me closer. And one of those. She gives a smile and turns to the counter behind her, the bitter smell of coffee beans mixing with the pastries, making my stomach rumble. After a moment, she turns back and places down the paper cup and bag on the counter. On the house. On the house. You sure? She nods. I heard you're gonna need it. What with that murder and all? She grimaces and wipes her hands on her apron. Yeah, guess word gets around quick. That shouldn't surprise you, she says, chuckling. It's worse than when you were in school. I nod in agreement. There's a saying in Wayhaven that if you don't know what's going on, you just have to ask the person next to you. Insular is an understatement. At least I know it's you out there protecting us, she says with a genuine smile. I give a slow nod. I joined the police force because I wanted to help people make them feel safe. It was the best career in Wayhaven that could put my mind to use. With my family so against the army, the police was the next best thing. Nothing happens in Wayhaven. It seemed like an easy job. Gave me a badge, and that badge gave me free stuff and favors. I like a job with structure, defined rules. This job allows me to use my scientific skills. There were no other jobs like that in the city. I had a rebellious youth. It was either the police force or jail time. I want to help people and make them feel safe. Wait, no, hold on. Let me think about this. Job with structure and defined roles. This job allows me to use my scientific skills. There were no other jobs like that in the city. Uh, CSI? No, detective, idiot. Not a CSI. It's not like Barry Allen. Huh. I might. If I click this, does that mean she's a bit more scientific? Let's try this. I thought this job would at least allow me some access to the science side of things. There were no jobs available in the city like that, so this was a compromise. How was I to know the worst crimes I would have to investigate would be vandalism and graffiti? Well, there was that time Mila Evans knocked her tennis ball through Jake Marshall's window, but that was all an accident. This murder, while unfortunate, is going to stretch my science skills. I grab up my goods, coming out of my thoughts. Thanks for this, with a grateful nod. I leave the shop and attempt to traverse my way over the cobblestone once again. We're just about to sip my drink when my phone buzzes. Veritas' name highlighted on the screen. With a sigh, I put down my things, Start the engine, make my way over a couple of blocks to the station. Back at the station. Morning, Douglas, I call as I push open the heavy glass door, pleased to be back in the familiar setting of the station. It was once a factory, but the insides have been completely refurbished into a bright, modern work area. The walls are mostly made of large windows and the workstations are efficient but open. The younger officer seated behind the gray faux marble front desk of the station scrambles to shove his cell phone into his pocket. Instead, he only manages to drop it on the floor. Both stare at the item as it spins on its back before slowing to a stop. Douglas shifts his wide-eyed gaze to me, both of us realizing work had been far from his mind while I'd been out. I thinned my lips in thought, suddenly presented with how to deal with the mayor's son now that I'm in charge of the station. Okay. No one upsets the mayor, and I'm not foolish enough to do it either. Give Douglas back the phone. Mayor's son or not, he still has to follow the rules. Take the phone. I'm not going to parent the kid. That's the mayor's job. Let him have the phone. I need to be able to rely on my own people, not to be distracted at work. Hold on to the phone. Let's see. Hmm. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so I'm thinking between mayor's son or not, he has to still follow the rules. Take the phone or hold on to the phone. Hmm. Able to rely on my own people, not to be distracted at work. Okay, take the phone or hold on to the phone. What's the difference? Does that mean I hold on to it for a little bit longer than I need to? Or then take the phone? I'm not sure. Uh, okay, let's go with this. Really? I ask, putting on my best disappointed voice. The young man turns away with a pout. I bend down to retrieve the phone, slipping it into my jacket pocket. I need to be able to know you have the station covered while I'm out, Douglas. I know, he says, like a child being chastised, which I realize he sort of is. I'm sorry, Detective. I'll keep it safe until the end of the day. He doesn't argue, only slumps back into his chair with a heavy sigh. His long bangs cover his puppy dog expression, the light blonde hair almost lost against his pale skin. I shake my head and begin moving towards the pathologist's lab. Okay, so yeah, it's like school, basically. You hold on for the rest of the day, come back and get it at the end of the day. As I push open the doors of the staircase that leads down to the basement, I wonder if how I dealt with Douglas was the right move. The all-powerful Mayor Friedman doesn't like any insult to his name, so Douglas must be a real disappointment. Still, Douglas is kind enough, just young and not great at actually remembering to focus on his work. I shake the thought away as the chill of the basement sinks into my skin. My gaze flashes over the no food or drink sign, nailed to the wall just a few feet from the lab, and I grip my drink. Aw, man. Fine, I'll throw it away. Reluctantly, I throw the paper cup and its contents to the nearby bin, knowing the rules are there for a reason. You could have just drank the rest of it real quick. Now the chill really sets in, and I shiver as I finally reach the pathologist's lab. I bump the heavy door open with one hip, pacing into the clean room behind. White tiled walls shine all around. The shimmering silver machines dotted about the edges of the room are not very welcoming. I don't know how you work down here, I say, spying Farida sitting at his metal desk to one corner. The slender, short man isn't even wearing gloves, it's just suit and a simple white medical coat. He turns and gives a grin, the expression making his dark brown eyes shimmer even in the dull electric light. This is the first time I've really had to work, he says, running a hand over his styled brunette hair that he always has highlighted, the color complementing his light brown skin. Mostly, I just deal with the overflow of natural deaths Dr. Turner can't manage. I arch a brow, my focus shifting to the steaming mug of coffee on his desk. Hey, I threw my drink away. That's because you're someone who's better at following the rules than I am. Something you should be proud of. I picked up too many bad habits working in the city. He smiles, an expression bright and full of cheer. I snap out of my thoughts, our attention back on the white sheet on the table. The woman's head and shoulders are the only thing visible. You haven't started the autopsy yet? He shakes his head. No, but he purses his lips, a shadow of goatee framing them. I found something you might need. He spins around, lifting an evidence bag off the nearby counter. Inside is a cell phone. They couldn't find this on her at the scene. I say, taking the bag and looking over it. It was in her boot. We both stared down at the woman, her skin now a gray white, her lips so pale they seemed to have sunken back and disappeared. We'll need to find her identity so we can inform the family, so I can find the killer. I hope the rest of the people in Wayhaven are safe. I can solve this, my career will be off to a good start. Okay, let's identify us and inform the family. We really need to find out more about her identity, I say, letting out a sad breath. I need to be able to inform her family. Yeah, I don't envy you that job, Rita replies, his shoulders sagging. But I'm glad you care about that kind of thing, more than most detectives would want to do, back in the city stations. I half smiled at him, appreciative of the compliment. There's not much I could tell you at the moment, Verita continues, though I did notice bruises around her wrists and ankles. She was tied down? I asked, the thought making my chest tight. So it would seem. His voice trails off in obvious sympathy for the poor woman. My hand tightens around the cell phone, and I bring it up to turn it on through the evidence bag. The phone flashes to life, and I give a sigh of relief to find it's not pin protected. Flickering through this call log, there are the usual names, home, work, but then only a very few other numbers. The texts are pretty standard, too, though, again, very few of them. She obviously didn't get out much, Verita says as he glances over the phone, too. I can sympathize. I don't exactly get much of a social life in this job. Poor girl. She might have been less of a target if she hadn't been so isolated. Can't blame her being that sociable is overrated. It's strange to think there are some who wouldn't want to go out more and know people. Let's go with this one. Wait. Okay. Poor girl. Poor girl, I say, flicking my gaze at the lifeless woman before back to the phone. She might have been less of a target if she hadn't been so isolated. Maybe, Rita says with a shrug, but that might not have been why she was targeted. True, I say, shivering at the thought of the woman's fate. The conversation is halted as I go through the photos on her phone. A few catch my attention. Something wrong? Rita asks. No, it's just... I stare at the pictures closer. They're blurred as though taken in motion, but the stained walls and cracked metal beams are familiar. I recognize where these pictures were taken, and they seem to be the last photos she took. You think she managed to capture where she was murdered? Possibly, I reply, shutting off the phone and frowning. Looks like it's from the old Ferris warehouse at the edge of town. Tina and I had quite a few patrols up there. It's falling to pieces, but the teenagers still insist on risking their necks by going in it. Ah, to be youthful once more, Rita says, which I can't help but laugh. Will you go over to the warehouse now? I will, after I've done some paperwork, I reply, moving to the doorway and glancing back at him. Alone? I've got my radio if I need backup, but I'm pretty sure Tina checked it out already the other day. Can't imagine some deranged murderer still hanging out there. He frowns in concern. Be careful, detective. I am the model of careful. I am the very model of careful, Verita, I say with a bright smile. He rolls his eyes but gives a chuckle. I hope that proves true. My smile lingers as I leave the room, feeling much better than I have since finding out about the murder.